Hey guys, today I'm going to be sharing what I would recommend makeup-wise for a beginner, but this doesn't have to be just beginners because I still love and use most, if not all, of these products, so I would just recommend them in general, but I really wanted to try to cut it down and sort of break down why I would recommend certain products to someone who's just new or really trying to practice and get better at doing makeup. Let's start with foundations. Now, there are so many great ones. I know the Revlon Color Stay has been really popular in terms of just being very long wearing, giving you full coverage. That one's kind of like a classic. But what I would personally recommend from the drugstore, I would probably recommend one of these two. This one just has such an amazing finish. This is specifically the Matte and Poreless. So for those of you who have oily skin and want more of that like matte or demi-matte finish, I think this is great. The only thing with this is that it isn't as long wearing. So, you know, say you're gonna go to an event or something, I think this would be great if you're only gonna be there for like 4 to 5 hours. This is something that I would recommend just because the finish is just so beautiful that I felt like I still had to recommend it because I still love this foundation. But another one that's even more long wearing is the L'Oreal Infallible. It is a Pro Matte 24-hour demi-matte finish, and I think this one is great, like even if you wanted to mix a little bit of moisturizer or BB cream or just anything to thin it down if you feel like the coverage is like too thick or just the texture in general doesn't have enough slip. You still want to have something that's going to be long wearing, because if you're going to school or going to work and you just don't want your foundation shifting all over the place, this is a really great one. I totally lied. Another one that I have to recommend is the L'Oreal True Match for those who have normal to dry skin. So this isn't the longest wearing if you have oily skin, but if you don't have oily skin, this one has a really nice finish as well. Blends really beautifully. They have a great range of shades. They have neutral, cool, and warm. This one looks so amazing on a lot of people. I wish it was longer wearing for oily people like me, but yeah, I have to recommend this one. And if those just simply are not long wearing enough for you, you need something that's really long wearing. Maybe you're really oily, maybe you're needing this for a wedding, or just you're gonna be out and about all day long and you need it to last. This is an old standby that I still use when I'm doing other people's makeup. It is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid. Once again, this is something that you can thin out. So I would prefer to have something that I could actually get to that really high coverage, long wearing consistency and then thin it out if I need to. Obviously isn't as affordable as drugstore, but I think it's worth it because they have such a wide range of shades, and it's even a great place to just start and learn where you kind of fit on the color spectrum in terms of what your skin tone is. So I think MAC is a great place to start if you're a beginner. Let's talk about concealers. I would actually say concealers I think are even more important than the foundations. You may not need foundation. Concealers are so important because you really want to just brighten up those under eye circles or certain parts of the face, bring that like healthy lit glow from the center just by highlighting. Just doing that alone wakes up and brightens up a face so much that I think concealer is a must-have for any beginner, for any makeup enthusiast. So here are the three that I picked out. Let's start with the NYX HD Photogenic Concealer. This is probably the longest wearing of the three I'm about to show you because this one works well underneath the eyes to highlight, but I especially really like this for spot concealing. So if you have little blemishes here and there, I think a specific concealer that is good for that, I would highly recommend getting one of those. And then I think it's also great to have a concealer that works well like for underneath the eyes to brighten, to highlight. And I have these two here. The Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. I love this because, you know, the product just dispenses onto this sponge tip applicator and you can just kind of sponge it on wherever you need it and then just blend it out. I've loved this one for years, but if this one is still a little bit too drying, because I know some people get the fine lines under here or it just creases so easily, you need something with a little bit more slip. I really love this L'Oreal Visible Lift Blur Concealer. I just think this has such nice blendability. It's just beautiful. As far as the setting powder goes, you should definitely at least have something for the under eyes, like for the concealer, so that it doesn't crease up into those lines. so that it just lasts all day long. Even if you're someone with more of a dry skin type, you might be able to pass without having to like set your foundation, for example. But for just about everyone else, I would recommend a setting powder. So I have a couple here. I have this Essence All About Matte Fixing Compact Powder, which I kind of broke the cap of a long time ago. But as you can see, I've like hit pan on it because I really like this powder. It is what I use today. Pretty much everything on my face I am going to be talking about because I tried to use what I'm going to be recommending to you guys. Another great one, which I don't think you can just like, I don't know if you can find this in a store, is the LA Girl Pro Powder. It's an HD high definition setting powder, and it pretty much is very similar to the Makeup Forever HD powder. It's just that very fine silica powder. If you're afraid of any other powders looking kind of cakey on you, you can try this one out. But honestly, so many brands have powders like this now, even e.l.f. And e.l.f. is incredibly affordable. Now for bronzer, there are so many bronzers out there that I really wasn't sure what to pick for this. Depending on if you want a completely matte bronzer, the NYX Matte Bronzer is really popular. I don't think I personally have that one. I have so many other bronzers that I'm not going to buy a ton more, you know? And then as far as shimmery bronzers, there are a ton of those. The one that I have been using nonstop isn't even a bronzer. It's just a powder that's in Golden Beige from Maybelline FitMe. I just love this because it does have the golden tones, and I just find that it's more flattering on my skin tone. But yeah, there are a lot of higher end ones that I love. I think the Too Faced, like all their chocolate bronzers, I think those are excellent. If you don't mind splurging on a bronzer, I probably would steer you that way. Alright, let's talk about blushes. Let's just keep talking about the face products before we dive into everything else. I think Milani has excellent blushes. Affordable, they're so great. Milani is such a great brand. They're baked blushes if you want something with that beautiful glow. These are so gorgeous. I honestly don't know if this was limited edition or not, but this is a matte blush if you want something with a matte finish. NYX has amazing blushes. I have this shade right here, which is a blush, but I use it as a contour color, and it's in taupe. It's what I use today with a little bit of the Maybelline just brushed over it to warm up my face a little bit. But this is great to mimic shadow if you're really trying to get that true contoured look. e.l.f. I have e.l.f. on my face right now. This is probably like a $3 blush. You can find these at Target. Okay, we'll talk about brushes last, but let's go ahead and go into eyeshadows. So for a beginner, I think if you just want something to start out with, a palette. I've tried a lot of different palettes, a lot of different ones from the drugstore. I think a lot of those quads, you know, with like the 4 different shadows, I think a lot of those are great. But if you want something with a wider range of shades, so this L'Oreal palette I dropped in my bathroom and it hit the tile floor, so it's cracked. But honestly, I really do love the palette. It has a bunch of great neutral shades, really great pigmentation. The shimmery shades aren't like crazy brilliant and shine, but it's perfect if you just want that soft everyday eye look. It's what I have on my eyes right now, and I'm especially really impressed with the matte shades in here, but all of the shades work great. But if you do love shimmery shadows, the original Urban Decay Naked is still an amazing palette. I still use it to this day, actually. These are so pretty, like the shimmer in them really do stand out. It has more of that like metallic sheen. Okay, while we're still talking about eyes, Milani Liquid Eye Liquid Like Eyeliner Pencil. These are so good. I have them in a few shades. This is just the black one. If you want a really rich, creamy black that's going to last a long time on your eyes, highly recommend this one. And I'm not going to recommend any liquid liners because I feel like for a beginner, those can be pretty intimidating. But there are definitely a lot of great ones at the drugstore. I'll be sure to list those down below if you guys would like to know which ones I'd recommend. But yeah, I think for the most part as a beginner, I would kind of lean towards recommending pencils and gel liners. A lot of great gel liners too, but I especially really love the L'Oreal Infallible Lacquer liner. I have the one in navy here, and it is what I'm wearing. An eye primer I think is so important. Especially if you have oily skin, oily lids, you've got to have an eye primer. And I would highly recommend the Wet n Wild, what is this, Fergie Take on the Day eyeshadow primer. It's called For My Primas. And this works just as well as high-end primers. It just really, really helps like keep your eye makeup on from melting and smearing and getting creased up in your lid. It even helps your mascara from like smudging too, because some mascaras do smear. Same with eyeliner. Now, as far as eyebrows go, you definitely can use an eyeshadow, use some kind of powder, an angled brush, and then just, you know, just fill in those brows a little bit. But I think of everything I've used that's really, you know, on the affordable end, I have to recommend the NYX Micro Brow Pencil. This is what I have on. I love it. It just looks so natural. I have it on in the shade Taupe. I think Taupe works for a lot of people, but of course they have multiple shades. They have a lot of shades actually. It's definitely a great alternative to the more expensive ones out there. Lash curlers, I am all about it. I think these are worth investing in and splurging a little bit for, especially if you do have like the strict straight lashes like I do, because having a good lash curler, it just saves you time, it gives you a nicer curl, and they're gonna last, and they're just worth it in my opinion. So I have the Lancome one right here. I love this one. The Shu Uemura one is so great. I love that one as well. Those are probably my top two. And if you really can't fathom the idea of spending so much on an eyelash curler, you can do the blow dryer trick. Just be very, very careful with, you know, like a drugstore lash curler, but just be very, very careful. That's what I used to do for the longest time back then. All right, mascaras. The drugstore has a ton of great, great mascaras, but if I was just to recommend one and you're not really used to wearing mascara, I think the Maybelline Lash Sensational is great. What I really like about this one is that the wand is slightly curved, so it's just a little bit more easy to, you know, apply. Like, it's not overly spiky where the curved part is, so that you're not going to poke your eye out. But if you do want a little bit of spikiness to really lengthen, you can turn it to the other side, and it just gives you this kind of nice separated lash look. It's not overly dramatic, but you're not going to get that clumpy look if you don't like that. If you want that clumpy look, I promise you there are a ton of other drugstore mascaras that will give you that look, but just for a good standby, something that will fan and brush your lashes out, I think this is great, even as a first coat and then applying another mascara on top of it. False lashes. I know this might be a little bit intimidating for those of you who are new to makeup, but if you are wanting to learn because you're going to go to a special event, maybe you're going to a wedding, maybe you're going to prom, whatever it is, I just think lashes make a world of a difference, and it's worth practicing and learning to do. So there are a lot of great affordable ones too. The ones that I'm wearing right now are from Salon Perfect Demi Wispies. Whenever I wear these, people ask me what I'm wearing because they look expensive, but they're not expensive at all. They just have this nice feathered out look, very wispy, and it's also really comfortable, so that's another reason why I would recommend these. But there are a couple others from Andrea. I think the Andrea Mod Lash number 21s. You can find that at Walgreens. I've used that one on a ton of brides. That's a really nice natural pair. And then there's this other pair from Kiss, which I'm going to have to list down below, that I wore nonstop. And that pair looks so great too. It just seems like they keep coming out with better and better lashes. So I'm a fan of Kiss, which I do have their lash glue here. So if you want an affordable lash glue, get the one from Kiss. This is just the clear strip lash adhesive. It holds for 24 hours. It says it's odor-free, latex-free for those of you who are allergic to latex, and it's waterproof. And if you are going to have any pencils that do require sharpening, you need a good pencil sharpener. So this one has one for those like bigger jumbo pencils and a good one for, you know, the regular size pencils. I think a good pencil sharpener is so important, and this one is very affordable. It is from Essence. You can find this one at Ulta, I think for like a couple bucks. Woo! Are you guys hanging in there with me? All right, let's talk lip products. Now, I love lippies. I love, love, love lippies. Sometimes I'll just, even though I have a ton of them, I'll just go out and treat myself to one because I love lipstick. So I think it doesn't hurt to have maybe one lip liner if you need your lipstick to last. One that's maybe like your lips but better, or your lips but a little bit deeper or richer, I think is a good one. This is the one that I swear by and I love. It's from Rimmel Exaggerate, and it is in the shade East End Snob. But sort of in that same realm, like, of lip liners, I feel like matte lipsticks kind of do the same thing. It's just that they may have less of a dry consistency. So NYX Matte Lipsticks, this is what I'm wearing. This one is in Natural. They have a lot of great lippies, but I especially really have been loving this one. I've worn this one so many times throughout like the fall to winter season, and it just works great. Because of its matte texture, it lasts longer on the lips, and it's just faster to apply than a lip liner. So I practically use this as like a base, almost like a lip liner, and then sometimes I'll apply any other lip color on top. Like, it could be like a nude lipstick, it could be some kind of gloss, and I love it because it gives my lips a lot more definition. While we're on the topic of matte lipsticks, Wet n Wild, they make great, affordable, so affordable lipsticks, and they have quite a few shades in this one too. Milani, this is another matte one, but they have a lot of great lipsticks, not all matte, a lot of different shades that I love and I have used for so long. Maybelline, yep, Maybelline creates lots of great lipsticks too. Matte ones, creamy ones, bright ones like this. Love Maybelline lipsticks. And as far as glosses go, I'm going to have to give it to NYX, their Intense Butter Glosses and their regular butter glosses. Love, love, love those. And lastly, the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Glosses, because these are so pigmented, and I think they just came out with a lot more shades too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm very picky about lip glosses, and yeah, I think this one's excellent. Alright, now let's talk about brushes. Real Techniques. I'm very impressed. I'm impressed with the quality, just the build, and like the durability of these brushes. I've had no shedding. This Expert Face Brush I think is great because you can use it to apply foundation, but it's also small enough to still get underneath the eyes if you want to use this for your concealer and blend that out as well. You definitely want to have some kind of like all over face brush to apply your bronzer or your powder. Blush brush so you can apply your contour and of course apply blush with. e.l.f. also makes some great brushes too, face and eye brushes. I have had this one forever. They also have this flat top powder one that is great. I actually really want to try their, I think it's like their angled blush brush. That's similar to this one, but it's angled. I think I really want to try that one next. But they have so many great brushes. You can definitely try some of their $1 brushes, like for beginners. I used their $1 brushes for the longest time. And then they have their $3 range too, which this one falls under. This eye blending brush from Sonia Kashuk. This is such a great brush just to blend and to even apply some product on because it is dense enough so you can blend beautifully with it, but you can also apply product with it. Another great one from Sonia Kashuk is their small eye shading brush. Their current one actually looks more like this. It's not as like petite as this one is. I'm not gonna lie, I actually like their old shape a little bit better, but their new one is small enough for those of you who do have a smaller lid space, and even if you don't, I still recommend a brush this size because it just allows you to be more precise in general. Then the last two brushes I think you should have as a beginner is an angled one because you can use this to apply gel liner with, and you can also use it for your brows. So if you wanted to use a brow powder or some kind of powder to fill in your brows, it's good to have a small angled brush. I think it's also helpful to have like an even smaller detail brush so you can apply some highlight right in the inner tear duct area here, but you can also smudge out eyeliner with. Alright, and that wraps it up for what I would recommend for a beginner or just anyone, a makeup enthusiast in general. I hope you guys found this helpful. If there are any that you think I totally should have included in this, I'm sure there are many more. Recommend them down below. What can you not live without that you would totally recommend to a beginner or that you have really loved as a beginner? Let me know. I want to know. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!